No performer in modern history. Michael Jackson was the greatest pop star of the 80s and 90s for being an excellent singer and dancer with millions of followers around the world. He also demonstrated a special business related to the world of music and entertainment. Today, I bring you the story of the one who was the greatest artist that music has given. Don't miss any detail, you will truly be passionate about it. Michael Joseph Jackson was born on August 29, 1958, in Gary, Indiana, a steel town on the edge of Lake Michigan. He was the seventh of 9 children born to Joseph and Catherine Jackson. His parents, Joseph and Catherine Jackson, raised their family in a small house near the steel mills where Joseph worked as a crane operator. Money was tight. The house was crowded. But inside those walls, music was already taking root. Joseph worked as a crane operator in the mills and had once played guitar in an R&B band. Catherine, a devout Jehovah's Witness, brought structure and faith to a household that would soon revolve almost entirely around music. The Jackson home was small and privacy was scarce. Several brothers often shared a single bedroom. It was in these cramped, ordinary surroundings of not a professional studio that the earliest rehearsals took place, with pots, pans, and household objects sometimes standing in for instruments before the family could afford real ones. By the early 1960s, several of the Jackson brothers, Jackie, Tito, and Jermaine, were singing together. When Joseph discovered how talented his sons were, he began managing them with relentless discipline, running rehearsals for hours at a time. Michael, still a toddler, was always nearby, absorbing rhythm and performance before he could even read. By age 5, Michael was already singing lead. His voice and stage presence were unlike anything audiences expected from a child. The brothers began entering and winning talent competitions across the region, including a pivotal victory at Chicago's storied Regal Theater. As their reputation grew, the group toured what was known as the Chitlin Circuit, venues across the South and Midwest that booked black performers during a segregated era. Michael, only 7 or 8, was performing for adult audiences late into the night, watching seasoned entertainers from the wings and studying their craft. By the time he was a teenager, Michael Jackson was no longer simply a talented child in a musical family. He was already, in the eyes of the public, a star, one whose childhood had been inseparable from the stage. In 1968, the group signed with Motown Records. Motown's promotional machine credited Diana Ross with discovering the group, layering Hollywood glamour over years of grinding work. The Jacksons relocated to Southern California, and in 1969, their debut single, I Want You Back, hit number 1. 3 more chart toppers followed in rapid succession: ABC, The Love You Save, and I'll Be There. Michael was still a preteen. Even while performing with his brothers, Michael's individual talent stood out. In 1971, he launched a solo recording career, scoring hits like Got to Be There and Ben. An animated series, The Jackson 5, introduced the group to an even younger generation of fans. But this level of fame came at a cost. Michael has spoken candidly in later interviews and in his memoir about missing the ordinary parts of childhood, friendships, unstructured play, simply being unnoticed. Rehearsals were intense, tutoring happened on sound stages, and the pressure to perform flawlessly was constant. He has also described real joy in the work itself, writing melodies, perfecting dance steps, and studying performers like James Brown and Fred Astaire. By the late 1970s, Michael was a young adult looking to establish an identity beyond his family group. In 1978, he took a supporting role in the film The Wiz, where he met producer Quincy Jones. Their collaboration would change the course of popular music. In 1979, Michael released Off the Wall, a solo album blending disco, funk, R&B, and pop. Songs like Don't Stop Till You Get Enough and Rock With You showcased a more mature, confident artist. The album was a critical and commercial triumph, establishing Michael Jackson as a major solo force, though he later said he felt it was overlooked for top industry honors, a frustration that fueled his drive for what came next. In 1982, Michael released Thriller, an album that would go on to become the best-selling record of all time. Tracks like Billie Jean, Beat It, and the title song Thriller dominated radio. But it was the album's music videos that changed the industry. His performance of Billie Jean on the Motown 25 television special, where he debuted the moonwalk, became an instant cultural landmark. The nearly 14-minute short film for Thriller, directed by John Landis, helped establish MTV as a serious cultural force and prove that music videos could be cinematic events in their own right. Thriller swept the Grammy Awards, and Michael Jackson became known worldwide as the King of Pop. Michael followed Thriller with Bad in 1987, which produced 5 #1 singles, a record at the time. The accompanying Bad World Tour was one of the highest-grossing tours in history to that point. In 1991, he released Dangerous, blending new jack swing and industrial sounds, and continued to push the boundaries of what a pop spectacle could look like. Elaborate stage productions, groundbreaking choreography, and increasingly ambitious short films for singles like Black or White and Remember the Time. By this point, Michael Jackson wasn't just a musician, he was a global cultural figure, one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. In 1991, he released Dangerous, blending new jack swing and industrial sounds, and continued to push the boundaries of what a pop spectacle could look like. Elaborate stage productions, groundbreaking choreography, and increasingly ambitious short films for singles like Black or White and Remember the Time. By this point, Michael Jackson wasn't just a musician, he was a global cultural figure, one of the most recognizable faces on the planet. Alongside his musical success, the 1990s and 2000s brought intense media scrutiny. Michael's changing physical appearance became a constant subject of tabloid attention. His personal life, including his 1994 marriage to Lisa Marie Presley and his later marriage to Debbie Rowe, with whom he had 2 children, was closely followed by the press. In 1993, Michael faced allegations of child sexual abuse, which led to a civil settlement without criminal charges being filed. In 2005, he stood trial on new criminal charges related to similar allegations and was acquitted on all counts by a jury. These events profoundly affected both his public image and his personal life, and they remain a deeply debated part of his legacy. Through this period, Michael continued to release music, including the 1995 album History and 2001's Invincible, though his output slowed compared to the 1980s peak. Michael was the father of 3 children, Prince, Paris, and Blanket, Prince Michael II. He often spoke about wanting to give his own children a more normal, private childhood than the one he had experienced. He built Neverland Ranch, a large property in California that became both a personal retreat and, for a time, a symbol of his eccentric public image. By the mid-2000s, Michael largely stepped back from the public eye, spending time abroad and dealing with financial pressures after years of extravagant spending and business complications. Despite this, his cultural relevance never truly faded. His influence could be heard across decades of pop, R&B, and hip-hop artists who cited him as a foundational inspiration. In 2009, Michael announced a major comeback, a series of concerts in London titled This Is It, intended as a triumphant return to the stage after years away from major touring. Rehearsals were underway and expectations were enormous. But on June 25, 2009, Michael Jackson died in Los Angeles at age 50. The cause of death was determined to be acute propofol intoxication administered by his personal physician. His death sent shockwaves around the world, prompting an outpouring of grief, tributes, and a global reassessment of his legacy. Michael Jackson's impact on music, dance, and visual performance is difficult to overstate. He helped transform the music video into an art form, broke racial barriers on MTV and radio, and set commercial and creative benchmarks that few artists have matched since. His life also stands as a case study in the costs of extraordinary fame, a childhood consumed by performance, an adulthood shaped by relentless scrutiny, and a legacy that remains as complex as it is influential. Decades later, his music continues to shape popular culture, even as his story continues to prompt reflection on fame, childhood, and the price of stardom.